Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the B segment of episode 7 of The Loud House, Undie Pressure. We begin this segment with a rainy night at the Loud House, where the siblings all gathered in the living room. Lincoln in particular is about to read some new comics, and he takes off his clothes because for him, reading comics in his underwear is more comfortable and relaxing for him. Lola, though, complains about this, but Lincoln points out that the rest of the siblings, or his sisters, all have their share of annoying habits that he has to put up with as well. This leads to some of the siblings claiming that they could last longer not doing their habit than he can. He bets they can't. This gives Lola an idea to make an actual bet, essentially. She thinks that if any of the sisters can last longer than Lincoln not doing their annoying habit, then Lincoln has to stop reading his comics in his underwear. Lincoln, though, points out what's in it for him if he wins, and they decide they won't complain about his quirk again if he does win. Lincoln then manages, though, to get a more fair advantage for his side, or a more fair win for his side, by saying if he wins, they have to get him a red pair of underwear that he wants to call his victory undies. After some debating, the sisters do agree to his terms. Now, as for the Loud sisters' annoying habits, it's Lori talking to Bobby constantly, Lenny using the word like all willy-nilly, Luna speaking in a British accent, Luann telling jokes, Lynn turning any activity into a sport, Lucy popping up and scaring people randomly, Lana playing in the mud, Lola always looking in a mirror, Lisa experiments with, shall we say, bowel movements, and Lily crying. So with that all settled, the bet begins, and Lenny's the first out. Even when they restart, because she didn't understand the first time, she's still the first one out, and Lucy is out not too long after. So as the bet continues on, the sisters slowly but steadily start to drop out of the competition. We even get to see Bobby make his first formal appearance, that is to say the first time we see him on screen, when he actually does try to pop by the Loud House to see why Lori isn't answering her calls, but Lori tries to keep the blinds closed as much as it pains her not to be near her boyfriend. And at one point, when Luna hears that there's a contest being held by a radio host by the name of J-Rock, that there's a competition with whoever can speak in the best British accent gets tickets to McSwagger, a parody of Mick Jagger, and Luna's role model in the music area. Although Luna tries to whisper it, she has to shout it in order to win the competition. Well, the ticket competition. She loses the bet amongst her sisters against Lincoln. And then when Bobby knocks on the door, more of the sisters drop out of the competition. Lori's out, Lana's out because she runs out to play in the mud, and then when Lori has to use the bathroom after drinking an old smoothie Bobby brought her, Lisa's out of the competition, and Luann's out for making a joke. So in the end, it seems like Lincoln and Lola are the only ones left in the competition, and Lola's been trying to apply her makeup, but without any mirror. She's kind of looking a lot like the Joker. You know, the whole, let's put a smile on that face, the Heath Ledger Joker. And then Lola tries to crank up the temperature of the house to get Lincoln to lose his will, but Lincoln fights back by polishing all the surfaces so that it's reflective, and Lola is tempted to look into the mirror, or reflective surfaces now, like a mirror, and then while Lola tries one desperate attempt to tempt Lincoln, Lincoln points out that if Lola saw how she looked, she wouldn't be happy. And while the sisters try to persuade her against it, Lola does give in and sees her Joker-looking face and is horrified. And she cleans it up, but she's out of the competition. Believing he's won, Lincoln removes his clothes, only to find out that Lily didn't cry during the competition, so Lily won the bet on the sisters' behalf. They rub it in Lincoln's face and force him to wear his clothes as he reads his comics. Lola's looking through that little mirror to apply her makeup, and she's enjoying it, but in the reflection of the mirror, she sees how uncomfortable Lincoln is. And she has a look of regret or guilt on her face? Later on, though, a delivery man shows up and gives a package to Lincoln. And Lincoln finds it's his victory underwears, but he questions how that's possible. The other sisters question it as well, until Lola confesses she was the one who got them for Lincoln. While the other sisters question why Lola would do this when they won against Lincoln, Lola points out that none of them could go very long without their quirks, or their annoying habits, as Lincoln called them, and says that it's not fair to Lincoln that he's forced to give up what they perceive as his annoying habit when he has to put up with what he perceives as their annoying habits throughout the whole time. The sisters do concede this point, and they decide Lincoln doesn't have to never read comics in his underwear. He's absolved of that. He can do that again. Lincoln hugs Lola and shows a lot of gratitude, and he gets to give his victory undies a test run as he's in his underwear. He wears his victory undies while reading his comics, and the segment ends with Bobby chasing a chicken and wondering what it's doing, why the chicken is trying to cross the road, because that was a brick joke from earlier with Luann, but that's how the segment ends. Now, this segment is definitely a good example about how execution is key, because at the surface you have a premise that most people usually aren't fond of, or considered one of the weaker aspects of the show. Lincoln's sisters gaining up on him, forming a hive mind or a mob mentality against him, whatever you want to call it. And Lincoln's put at a disadvantage for it, but it's the ending that saved it. Because if Lincoln was forced to never read comics in his underwear again, and it ended that way, yeah, I wouldn't have been a happy camper, and I'm sure many others wouldn't have been a happy camper about it either. But the fact was, Lola actually realized how unfair it is to make Lincoln give up something they find annoying while he has to put up with what he perceives as being them doing annoying stuff, and actually realizes that's not fair, and realizes the bet was pointless. It was especially nice that it was Lola who realized this, since Lola was the instigator for the conflict. She was the one that kickstarted the bet in the first place. And also because most fans would consider Lola to be the most antagonistic, or one of the more antagonistic of the Loud sisters. So that was nice to show. Even if she's usually on the meaner side compared to some of her sisters, she still does have moments of kindness and moments of realizing when she's in the wrong. So that was really nice. It definitely showed people that there was more to Lola than just a bratty little girl, that she actually does have a kinder side to her. And that's what I liked. The fact was that it ended with the sisters realizing how unfair they were being to Lincoln, and deciding that, yeah, we shouldn't do this because it's unfair, and letting him do it, even if it bothered him, because Lincoln has to put up with what they do that bothers him. That was a nice ending, so that was heartwarming and I liked that. And it was nice we got the first formal appearance of Bobby, Lori's boyfriend. He didn't get to do a whole lot, but it was nice to see him here, and afterwards he actually does appear in person after this segment, so he becomes a more prevalent recurring role afterwards. As for any other notable things to talk about with this segment, I have noticed quite a bit of people actually took issue with the fact that Lincoln lounges in his underwear around his family, and personally though, I didn't have a problem with that. Now, chalk it up to different reference pools or different experiences, but to me, Lincoln lounging in his underwear in the privacy of his home just among his family, that didn't strike me as weird at all. And again, this is probably what you can attribute to what different families consider the norm to do around your family or just in the privacy of your home. So that's, yeah, that didn't strike me as odd at all for me, but some people did. And, well, let's just remember that different families have different ideas of what they consider the norm around the household. So if you don't agree or you do agree, okay, let's make sure not to antagonize just because it's not what we agree with, or look down on other people just because they disagree with it. Let's just remember, different families, different norms, and live and let live, let's say. So, if you couldn't tell before, I definitely favor the B segment over the A segment when it comes to episode 7. And we're now done with discussing episode 7 on this channel. Take care, and until next time.